Okay.
All right.
Oh, those pretty scrolling colors.
Indeed. Now, first, I do have a confession to make, Carl. I do have a
Yes.
confession to make. I did cheat a little bit this time on the 7 minutes in heaven premise. Oh, it looks like the right edge of the screen got cut off by the screen capture. So my apologies for that.
No problem.
You'll still get a sense of what we're talking. I did cheat a little bit, because since the 5200 does have a keypad, and I figured the keypad was going to come into play on a more complex game like this, I did have a peek at the 5200 instruction manual to see what the controls were. Normally, I go in completely blind without even looking at controls, but this time I figured it was necessary. So I do have some idea of what I'm doing, more than I normally do.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no, that's perfectly legit. I mean,
yeah. But definitely my first thoughts coming into this is like, hey, this is, I mean, and I knew that it was considered pretty graphically impressive for the time, but this is not bad.
No, this is, I mean, when you consider, or better said, this gives you a whole new perspective on the Nintendo Atari Corporation lawsuit about how, the 5200 and the 7800 should have been more competitive in the market if they had just had access to good games.
Yeah.
Because there is an argument to be made that this should work. Okay, I see the emulator is blending in the
yes, because it's played on controller. I mean, I'm had set up for controller, but if you hit one of the bumpers, it brings up the keypad.
Gotcha.
So yes, I did just successfully rescue a guy there by landing, turning the energy off, and opening the airlock. Things that I all knew to do because I looked in the instructions.
Yeah. Yeah, as a kid, I did not have instructions. I could never quite figure out what the hell I was supposed to be doing here. I just kept shooting stuff.
Yeah. It's interesting. There was originally not going to be a gun in the game. David Fox kind of wanted to promote a little bit of nonviolence in making this. And so the only way you could have pursuing ships, you could kind of force them to run into the mountains when they were chasing you. But otherwise, there wasn't really anything you can do with the enemies. But the one thing, George Lucas did not pay a lot of attention to what was going on in the game division. But since these were the first games, he did come down and play Fractalus and Ball Blazer a little bit. And when he saw that there was not a fire button, he asked David Fox if it was for moral reasons or gameplay reasons. And when Fox couldn't really say it was for gameplay reasons, he said, put a fire button in. So that was probably the only time George Lucas ever contributed to a Lucasfilm game / LucasArts production.
Yeah. Now, just from a mechanic standpoint of how you're playing it, is there a button that you're pressing that automatically lands the vehicle, or are you just cutting the energy?
No, there is a button that automatically lands. And I think if I remember, it's the one button on the keypad, but the one button is actually mapped to one of the triggers. So I'm not having to bring up the keypad on the bottom of the screen to do the landing.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's a 4-step process. The 1 button lands, the 2 button turns off the energy, the 3 button opens the airlock, and then once the pilot is safely on board, the 6 button allows you to take back off again.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I mean, this is famously these randomly generated fractal landscapes, a program or a routine, an algorithm put together by Lauren Carpenter, who was never officially part of Lucasfilm Games, but was one of the gurus in the computer graphics division of Lucasfilm at the time, which is what allowed them to have these landscapes on a system that really probably shouldn't have had them, just in terms of the technological capability.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, and here, finally, I've got one, that's coming from in front of me. I mean, the others, where I land right behind me, but, they're even animated, and you can see them walking towards your ship. Very famously, and this is something I knew going in, of course, those can sometimes be actually enemy aliens in disguise. I did not get one of those in the run here. That would have been entertaining to be able to show that. But
And do you know what they're called?
I forget what they're called.
The Jaggies.
That's right, the Jaggie Empire, of course.
Well, and you know why? Because because of anti-aliasing.
Right,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah, because there's no anti-aliasing in this routine, which is why everything is very jaggy.
Yeah. Well, no, but a year or two earlier at SIGGRAPH, the proper computer graphics department had made T-shirts that said, no Jaggies,
right?
Because of an anti-aliasing routine that they had introduced, and so and that's why they called the enemies the Jaggies.
I just wanted to point out it's also nice that they give you this targeting screen in the middle too, so you're not just having to figure out how to shoot the enemies on this kind of main landscape, but you can actually line them up with essentially your targeting computer, very, very much like the first Star Wars movie when their Millennium Falcon is being pursued by the TIE fighters, and they have that targeting computer. So there's a lot going on the interface here, which is very nice to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're going to use basically the same technique when they get to the Eidolon. They're just going to turn it upside down, and by keeping the ground flat, it actually runs at a smoother pace.
Makes sense, yeah.
Than this, yeah.
Because this is definitely frame limited here.
Yeah.
Not the smoothest operation. That's actually one of mine, but I got a little carried away there. Nobody died though. That's the important thing.
Yeah.
Now we're landing again. We got a good view of him up ahead this time. And systems off.
Yeah, but that's...
And here comes the pilots.
It's not just a sprite. They're actually basically doing sprite scaling here.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Yep.
In a very complex way.
As it gets closer, exactly. And of course, we don't get to see it in this playthrough, but the graphic of the alien jumping up in front of your windshield is also very nicely done.
Yeah.
All right. And so I rescued my quota, by which I mean it had been 7.5 minutes by that point. And so that's it.
Very cool. An enjoyable experience?
It was. I was having a good time. I mean, I had to... I had to consciously make sure that I was keeping an eye on the clock, because I was having fun. It wasn't just like, oh my God, how much longer do I have to put up with this fresh hell? It was fun.
You say that as if that's happened to you before during one of these segments.
No, Carl, we love all the 7 minutes in heaven games. All of them.
Awesome. Okay, tell you what, let's get back to the show.
All right.